Picture this. You're 10 years old, sitting on a hard wooden stool in your auntie's kitchen. A towel draped around your neck. Your head tilted awkwardly over the sink. Cold water runs down your scalp as your loved one works in conditioner with firm, loving fingers. The smell of blue magic grease hangs in the air. This isn't just hair washing. This is history. This is ritual. This is survival. And after your hair was thoroughly cleaned and styled, your loved one would sanitize that sink to be used later on. That was the rhythm of life. The norm. Scope News presents the unspoken story behind why so many Black people wash their hair in the kitchen sink, while others call it ghetto, unsanitary, or even shameful. The conversation has sparked debates online, in salons, and even among family members. We don't wash our hair in the sink, some say with pride. But where did that divide come from? Is this about hygiene, respectability, or something buried much deeper? When water access wasn't guaranteed, the kitchen sink became a lifeline. You can't understand this ritual unless you step back into a time when a warm shower wasn't guaranteed and bathtubs were a once-a-week luxury. For many Black families, especially during Jim Crow, and even well into the 1980s and 90s, the kitchen sink wasn't just where dishes got washed. It was where heads got blessed, scalps got soothed, and generations of hair care took root. It wasn't glamorous, but it worked. This didn't start because it was trendy. It started because it was necessary. When your home didn't have a shower, or if you were a renter whose hot water heater barely worked, the kitchen sink was the only reliable source of running water at the right height. You could sit, bend your head back, and let your mother or cousin work through your hair with the care of someone who knew exactly how tightly it curled, how dry it got, and how to keep it growing. And we also have to look at the realities of the homes themselves. A lot of the houses Black folks lived in during Jim Crow and even before that were shotgun homes. No indoor plumbing, no central heat, no bathroom down the hall. You had to boil water on the stove just to bathe or wash your hair. Shannon Sharpe, a retired NFL football player, even talked about this. He's in his 50s now, and he said he grew up in rural Georgia with no indoor plumbing at his grandmother's house. That wasn't 1800s. That was within our lifetime. And let's not forget, hot combs were popular during this era too. And where were they used? Right in the kitchen. Whoever was about to press your hair had to heat that comb up on the stove. So before the hair even hit the sink, the beauty ritual already started in that same room. And the reality of washing textured hair in the shower isn't always practical, and sometimes it's outright damaging. Afro-textured hair demands care in sections. It tangles, it absorbs, it resists being rushed. Washing it upright in a hot shower? That can lead to breakage, knots, and chaos. The sink, by contrast, offers control. You can part the hair into quadrants, control the water pressure, and minimize stress on your arms and scalp. This isn't about laziness or avoiding the bathroom. It's about using a space that actually respects what Black hair needs. For many Black women, this wasn't a casual decision. It was generational knowledge. It was wash day. An all-day process of love, labor, and legacy. The kitchen was the heart of it. Not just because it had a sink, but because it had a history. When salons refused to touch Black hair, the kitchen became a sanctuary. It's easy to forget or ignore that there was a time when white-owned salons openly rejected Black customers. During segregation and even beyond, many Black women were flat-out denied entry or told that their hair was too difficult to manage. And even if a salon was willing, many families simply couldn't afford it. So they did what Black people have always done. They made beauty in the margins. Let's take it back to Madam C.J. Walker, who by the early 1900s was already building a beauty empire right out of her own kitchen. Before she became the first self-made female millionaire in America, she was just a Black woman trying to create something for women like her. No fancy labs. No storefronts. Just a stove, a sink, and a vision. She trained other women to do the same, turning kitchens into salons and side hustles into full-blown businesses. This isn't just a story of success, it's cultural history. Madam C.J. Walker laid the blueprint for generations of black women who built beauty with their own hands in their own homes. And that legacy didn't stop with her. To this day, you'll still find kitchen beauticians, braiding hair, pressing roots, and taking care of long-time clients in the same chair they've had for decades. For a lot of folks, the kitchen sink never went out of style. It's still where trust gets built and hair gets handled right. Respectability politics crept in, and suddenly, the sink became a target. As more black people gained access to middle-class life, college campuses, and corporate spaces, the culture started to shift. Some began to distance themselves from anything that looked like struggle, including the kitchen sink. Suddenly, the same space that nurtured them became a symbol of what they were told to leave behind. Washing your hair in the sink? That was ghetto. That was unsanitary. That was for people who don't know better. But ask yourself, who defines better? And who benefits from that shame? Even today, debates rage on social media, in barbershops, and in beauty aisles. People from all over the world don't seem to understand the cultural nuances of this tradition, for example.
Can I just ask a genuine question real quick? And this isn't hate to anybody that does or anybody that doesn't, but I never really kind of understood. So in my freshman year at my university in Chicago, I came home from one of my lectures and my teammate, we lived in an apartment and she was washing her hair in the kitchen sink. Now, I've personally never seen that in my life, and that's just because I was raised that way. Like, my mom told me about just like, it wasn't hygienic. And when you're in the bathroom, I just feel like it makes sense for you to wash your hair in the bathroom.
Some younger black folks say, we don't do that anymore, citing germs, image, and aesthetics. But what they often miss is that this so-called outdated ritual was never about being modern. It was about survival. White people never needed to use the kitchen sink because their hair didn't demand the same process. Their salons were always open. Their hair textures didn't require sectioning or heavy oils or deep detangling. Their beauty was never questioned, so their grooming never had to be strategic. The kitchen sink isn't disgusting. What's disgusting is the erasure of its history. This isn't just a generational divide, it's a cultural fracture. And at its root is the same tension black folks have always faced. Do we stay connected to the methods that made us, or do we abandon them in the pursuit of approval? The sink is not a symbol of poverty. It's a symbol of practicality, of ritual, of deep love, of figuring it out when the world gave you nothing. To reject the sink is to forget the aunties who leaned your head back and said, "Hold still, baby, almost done." And make no mistake, those same aunties built empires. They started kitchen salons. They birthed hair care lines. They became entrepreneurs when no bank would give them a loan. They turned their sinks into sanctuaries and built legacies from linoleum floors. So the next time someone says, "That's nasty," don't just correct them. Remind them, this is where we built beauty. This is where we washed our wounds. This is where black hair learned to bloom. Scope News tells the truth. Here are the facts. We spoke with everyday black women, cultural historians, oral history archives, and first-person testimonies to understand the origin of home hair care. We traced the evolution of wash day from enslavement to modern TikTok discourse. We examined how social class, respectability politics, and anti-blackness shaped the ongoing debate. Special thanks to those who keep kitchen traditions alive, and those who never let shame rewrite the truth. Legal disclaimer: this Scope News report is intended for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised, especially when topics touch on racial history, cultural trauma, and systemic inequality. While we strive for accuracy, this content draws from a blend of historical record, lived experiences, cultural commentary, and public discourse. We do not claim to speak for all individuals or communities mentioned, and interpretations may vary. Images or references used are not intended to stereotype, misrepresent, or erase the nuance of Black culture and history. Any mention of historical figures is based on publicly available information and legacy documentation. Scope News aims to honor the truth, even when it's inconvenient, and we encourage viewers to continue their own research, dialogue, and exploration.